What's going on, guys? Davis Hirsch here from Hirsch Power Garage. Welcome back to another video. As you can tell, this is our last part in the Miata Turbo series. We have a JDL turbo kit right here. In the last few videos, we took you through how to do spark plugs, injectors, coil packs, as well as a fuel pump install. And so today we're gonna be showing y'all the final prep and steps of the actual turbo kit installation. This is not gonna be as detailed as our other videos. As we were supposed to have 2 weeks to do this job, we've instead had 3 days to do it. But if you're going this deep into your car, this should give you a general reference idea of how to get this done. Without further ado, let's get started. I know, I'm interrupting here. But before we get started on this video, read my pinned comment if you're planning on purchasing one of these turbo kits yourself. The kit is made by JDL Auto Design, who is fantastic. Some of the best customer service I've had in 5 or 6 years of doing car stuff. Unfortunately, we did not order from JDL directly. We ordered through another big kind of Miata company, and you'll hear some of our comments, some jabs at this company throughout the video. I'm not going to name them, but like I said, read my pinned comment. It will be explained. I am also going to have a follow-up video explaining how we got screwed over for 6 months by this company, and it was really just a mess. So without further ado, now let's get started. First things first, before we can do literally anything, we're gonna have to remove the battery. So there's gonna be 2 10 mils here. Of course, we need a deep socket for those. We're gonna get those zipped off, and then we're gonna have to remove both positive and negative terminal. Since we were filming other videos, we already have the negative removed, but like I said, we are gonna get the positive off. This will be a 10 mil right here and a 12 mil on the opposite side.
So as you guys could see maybe in that time lapse, once you undo the 10 mils and the 12 on that positive terminal, the battery slides right up. And then from there, we're gonna have 3 12 mil bolts to the battery tray. And then there's a little push clip at the top, kind of hiding back there. We're gonna disconnect that wiring harness from the battery box, and then this box should slide right back out.
To remove the intake tube, obviously ours is not the original, but I believe we are still using the stock hardware. So this will just be a 10 mil socket or a Phillips head.
It's not the original.
Okay, it's not the original, but
Or I don't think it is. It might be actually.
regardless, we'll take this off.
That's good.
Up next, we're gonna have to remove the factory intake box. At the time of recording, the instruction manual is not complete, so there isn't really a clear step-by-step on how to do this, but we're gonna have a little pinch clamp right here, as well as we're gonna have to disconnect the mass airflow sensor. Obviously, like I mentioned, we got the battery tray out there.
So the intake box is these 2 little metal prongs. They just kind of pop down, and then you lift this end up, slide to the side, and it'll come right up.
Afterwards, we're gonna have a 12 mil right down there. I used a ratcheting wrench. Once you get that 12 out, there's gonna be a 10 up there, and there should be a little pointed piece right there, which goes into this grommet, so you have to pop that out. And then theoretically, you maneuver it. I'll let him do that. Should be good to get that out just like that. Since we have an aftermarket radiator, our drain location might be a little different, but regardless, you're gonna crack your drain open, and then you're gonna go ahead and get your funnel. Get your funnel and loosen it to make sure it empties into your drain jug properly. This is heat. Yo! Like,
Who would have thought?
yeah, this is what Mazda actually calls for. Next up, once your coolant is drained, we're gonna have to remove these hoses. This one will be first, so it will be here and here. The pinch prongs are underneath it, so you're gonna go in from the bottom side. Then you're gonna follow to the hose to the right, and also remove it right here. That'll be our next step. Next up, to remove the AC lines after we've got those two heater hoses pulled, we'll have a bolt here. Don't drop it like we did into the depths. And then the second bolt will be there, third one right down there. After those three are loose, we're gonna go ahead and get this spring clamp loose, as well as the two 10 mils removed. So 1 and 2. Definitely would recommend not cleaning up your coolant mess until you're done, because the next step is gonna be removing this clamp on this hose. It's gonna dump everything. Obviously, we've got the 210s loose here. We're gonna go ahead and remove the lower clamp there. That one's gonna be pretty hard to get to, but y'all just have to maneuver yourself in there. We're not recording all this just because there's no way to get a camera in there and both of us, but this, what used to be, I believe, an AC line, not really for air conditioning.
It's a coolant hard line.
Coolant hard line was mounted, yeah, like that.
Like this.
So that was down in there, but it was preventing us from accessing the spring clamp that goes to the lower radiator hose. And so you can't remove this until you remove the lower radiator hose, but you can bend it out of the way. Actually, not bend it out of the way, but just maneuver it to give you more access in there. And what I like to do is on a hose like this, you can get a needle nose plier, and imagine the plastic pipe is here. If you can stick this in there and get a little bit of silicone grease in there, it makes it really easy to pop on out. But we're gonna have to separate this because we will have the new thermostat, and we have to trim down this original hose. So in our last clip, you need to cut here.
We started cutting here.
So you're supposed to trim about
an inch.
Roughly an inch off this end. Obviously, we did not do that, so we're gonna cut an inch off this end. It's probably
we're gonna make it work.
We're gonna make it work. Let's put it that way. So, yeah, we recovered from cutting the hose wrong. Obviously, it's not the best cut in the world, but the barb of the hose ends here. So we're gonna still put the clamp right here. It'll do. It's not perfect. Not what we'd have liked to have happen, but anyways, next step, we're gonna put the supplied thermostat in with the original hardware.
Yep.
And that's that.
So in your kit, you're gonna have 3 silicone coolant hoses as well as 6 hose clamps. Those are gonna be used to fit your new coolant hard lines. We're gonna start with the small one first. So I'm gonna grab the small coolant hose, put it on the bent end, grab 2 of your hose clamps. You're gonna wanna fit them in a way that you'll be able to access the screw. And then this one's gonna go down on this pipe here. And then up on the top end, you're gonna take the long tube slide it on. Then you're going to need 2 more hose clamps. And this is going to work its way onto this pipe. Again, make sure you orient them in a way where you can access the screw head on the top. And then we're going to move on to the long bar. This one's going to feed, kind of weird, probably should have done this one first. It's going to go through. It's going to end up underneath all these pipes down here. This is going to end up fitting to this hose in a minute. I can't do it with one hand down there. But up top here, you're going to take your other long pipe, silicone, and you're going to do the same thing you did up here with your hose clamps to this other fitting. And then from there, you just tighten them down, and then your coolant lines are done.
Once you maneuver the intake box in, there will not be a silicone coupler connecting the metal intake box and the ram air intake, the stock plastic one. So I think you're going to use a hose clamp or something like that over there. And what we're going to go ahead and do now is attach the mounting screws in there. You can't see it on camera, but obviously it'll reuse the factory holes, and you'll use the hardware to get that mounted. Next up, to install the map sensor and the diverter valve, we're gonna have to first remove the windshield wipers. It's kind of a weird procedure. You have to crack the bolts loose after removing the little cap covers. You're gonna use a little pick tool to get under there, and then it'll pop right out. And you're gonna loosen the nuts, but you're not gonna remove them. What you're gonna do is get them to where they're just a couple of threads are attached. Then you're gonna close the hood, come around to like this side of the car, and then you'll be able to loosen the nut and take them off correctly. It's kind of a weird design. Essentially, when the hood is up, the bolts are under tension, so you can't pop them off. Regardless, then we are going to go ahead and disconnect this line for the washer fluid reservoir, and we're gonna have to pop off these little trim pieces here. You can slide them out like that, or sometimes they pop out on their own. The design is like that. You see those little pinch tabs right there? That's how they come on out, but shouldn't be too hard. We're gonna go ahead and get this off. You're gonna use a little pry tool. Just be careful to try and not mar the surface. You're gonna pop it up gently, just a bit. As soon as you can, remove the pry tool, do so, because this plastic's so frail it will mar in half a second. Pop it up, good to go. We're gonna have an 8mm to get off below here, and then I will show you all what's next. After you've got the windshield cowl removed, you're gonna have those two 10 mils there, those two on the back, and it's gonna be mirrored on the other side, but we are gonna have trouble accessing those two because this line is in the way, the hard line. So you can release this one just to move this out of the way to access those. And we'll get those two as well before popping off that cover. the windshield, whatever metal thing goes that was here, we realized we can remove that if you unbolt that 10 mil on both sides of the hard line. You can pop that out and wiggle it out of the way. So now we have much more access to that sensor. So we're gonna have to disconnect it and I guess put the new one in along with the extension. Yeah, boy! That thing was like a little overhand. I'm insane. I'm nasty. I'm insane. Jaden, I'm a dog. So once you're sitting on your motor, what you're gonna do is, if you look in there, we have to install the adapter harness. So you got two options. One, you can plug it in to that thing first and then plug that thing in and connect it below. What I'm gonna do is plug the adapter into that plug first, because that plug is going to try and move around. It's going to be easier to get in there, in my opinion, doing it my way. But so to tighten this, I'm using the same method as before, but I hand threaded it. This is with the new sensor in, and my method worked best. I'm always right. But it's much easier this time around. Oh, you don't need to get this very tight. And that's good. So, that's it.
You clipped it already?
Yeah, dude, my freaking leg is shaking.
All right, guys.
Oh, what the hell?
Now you're gonna put all this back together. So, in preparation for a vacuum line for later, while we're back here, we're gonna tee in to this line right about here. So basically just gonna cut into it right in the middle.
Just like that.
Yeah. Professionals here. And then you're gonna slide some hose clamps over. Tight. Once you get it back on that valve, make sure your hose clamps are tight and that T is faced towards the front of the car.
Right now, we have basically done a little bit of a test mock-up. We've got the intercooler piping for the most part mounted. As you can tell, that's for our Varus engineering splitter. Don't worry about that. So this is how the pipes run. You will have to kind of play around to figure out what silicone hose is gonna go where. This lower pipe will run right above the power steering rack. We were originally trying to route it the wrong way, as if the blow-off valve was going to be placed right here. Don't do that like we did. It will instead go down there. The vacuum line that you run right here, we've decided to run it under the Skyactiv little engine cover, and just like that, we zip tied it to this bracket to keep it away from the accessory belt. We ran it right here just to kind of have it blend in a little bit. Then we have it tied to this ground wire, but when you did that, it kind of pulled it close to this line, which I thought would be hot. So I've zip tied it here on the ground wire again to get it out the way. Then it plugs into the blow-off valve. From there, obviously we don't have the battery box mounted. If you ordered from Fab9 like we did, probably sent you the wrong stuff. So we have to wait for that for another week. And now we're gonna go ahead and get the turbo assembled before mounting it on the car. What you're seeing now is me removing the OEM oil pan, which was a total pain. We ended up having to bend it like crazy to get it loose. And when we reinstalled the new pan, we torqued everything down properly, but we didn't read our instruction manual on the gasket maker we bought. So what we were supposed to do is tighten everything down, basically just to hand tight, and then wait an hour and then torque it. We just torqued it immediately right off the bat. So sure enough, we were leaking oil, and we ended up having to pull the pan a second time. But I have a picture on screen now of the correct torque sequence for the bolts. This is from the installation manual of the guide itself, and it was just a total pain. Don't make the same mistake we did. But I would recommend having some gasket dissolver, ordering some of that beforehand so that you don't have to sit there scraping it for hours like we did.
All right, so now we're gonna begin setting up the turbo itself. So we're gonna start by taking the supplied studs and we're going to lightly thread them in on all 5 holes on the turbo. So thread them in by hand as much as possible. It calls for red Loctite. I'm going to use blue because it's all I got. Just a little dot does it. Once you have your studs threaded in by hand, you're going to then put on your gasket. There's only one way to put it on. And then you're going to then set your downpipe on, and then you're going to have to put a washer over each stud on this side. And then you're going to put your brass nut. As you can maybe see, there's a gap here. We're going to have to slowly work down each of the nuts, one at a time. Because if we end up pushing these down, then we're not going to be able to get to the bolts underneath the downpipe. And I'm going to give you guys a close-up. Don't do what we did the other day. So we tried to tighten in the stud using the hex nut before we put the downpipe on. And it's this weird crush washer design that's like never going to back out on you. So once you go in, you can't get it off. It almost feels like you're stripping it. And that's essentially what we did, because we can't back it out on the stud. JDL was nice enough to send us another set. We're going to continue now with setting all the fittings into the turbo. So out of the oil return kit bag, you'll have this bracket here with a little like gasket, and then you'll have 2 little hex nuts, right? These are going to go on the only spot that makes sense, that fits. You're going to put the little gasket first, then the little bracket, and then you'll thread the 2 hex nuts in through the holes. I feel like I'm explaining like a 2-year-old's watching. And from here, once you got these all snugged up, there's this little bent bit. Only one side threads into here, so you can't get it wrong. As I'm sitting here like an idiot. We're gonna set the hose that came with the oil return line kit to the side for now, and we'll put it in once the turbo is in the car. You're then gonna get your turbo water cooling kit bag. You're gonna leave the 2 lines in there, just like the other line. We're gonna put it in when the turbo's on the car. You're gonna take out these 2 little adapters on the 2 sides. So there's a hole right here, and then there's one directly on the opposite side. You're gonna thread the flat end into that, and you're gonna leave the rounded end pointing out for the lines to go in. So it's gonna be washer on the inside, and you're gonna thread these in on both ends. And that's gonna complete, no it's not. We still need to figure out the oil return line. We'll get back on that one. So we've been informed that when you have a manual boost controller, which we are running, we're gonna tee into this line here before the wastegate. Ours has a wastegate arrow pointing upwards. These are directional, so we're gonna make sure that's pointed up towards the wastegate, but we're essentially just gonna tee in right from the middle.
To install the sensor, the T-fitting that feeds the turbo, right, Jaden?
Yeah.
We have to go into the car, obviously oil pan here, oil filter. The OEM, I believe it's the oil pressure sensor, has to be removed. This will be a 24 millimeter wrench or a 5/16 wrench. You're gonna have to unplug it first. It's gonna be hard for me to do with one hand while holding the camera, but regardless, we're gonna unplug that, get this loosened, and then I will show you the correct orientation of this piece, as there is a specific way it has to angle. You should see this in the instruction manual. We just put in the T-fitting. You'll have to put Loctite on that before threading it in, and you thread in the T-fitting to that thing when it's removed from the car. So right now we just put in the oil pressure sensor. I don't think it said to Loctite that, but we did because we can't get a 14 mil in here or 24 mil in here to get a great grip on it. So we've got it as tight as we can, but there's just no space to get a hand in there anymore. And now we're trying to connect the O2 sensor extension. We're gonna go ahead and drop the turbo in with the manifold, but we've noticed that the space is just not ideal to get that in all as one unit. So we're gonna undo this hard line just so we can move it out of the way to give us more clearance. Oh, great. Right here, right here, right here.
Hey guys, I'm going to interrupt this clip here because if you're watching this far in the video, I'm going to assume that you're watching this because you're doing this job yourself and you're probably stuck or maybe a bit confused. If so, our channel is not yet making much money. If you do want to help donate and support us, I got links below. Thanks guys.
So before you go ahead and drop your turbo in the car, I went ahead, we were recommended to fit all the lines to it before it drops in. So starting on the left here, we're gonna have the coolant line. It's gonna be the short coolant line. It's gonna go straight 90 degrees upwards into a 90-degree bend left. And then on top, you're gonna have your oil feed line, which is gonna be it's gonna go straight out and then 90-degree bend down. On the side to the right, you're gonna go straight down with it, and you're gonna have the long coolant line. And then on the bottom, we have it threaded on. It's not tight because I believe we're gonna have access to it from under the car, because I don't exactly know how it orientates into the oil pan. These holes here, we're not using them. They use So they mount to the stock header bracket. We don't have that with us. My mid pipe has a flex pipe, so it's not that drastic that we need it. But we're gonna go ahead and drop this in.
What was that doing? Oh, boom! It's Jay.
We're resting.
Yeah, boy. Jaden had the great idea to.
Go. Same way you take your headers out.
Yeah, boy.
Put the turbo in.
We didn't jack the oil pan since we just did the gasket. So I said, hey, let's jack the transmission. And I was thinking about, obviously we had to disperse the load. So I used a plank. And if that wasn't gonna be enough, I was gonna put like a little cube, shall we say, right there on the passenger side to kind of emphasize tilting it. Oh, also we just connected the passenger side motor mount, I should say. Right? Yeah, passenger side. And then, as you saw in that time lapse, popped right in. To get the lower coupler attached to the turbo and this pipe down here, obviously it's actually not coupled yet, but we tried to first put the coupler, the rubber silicone hose on this end first and then connect it. Since we can still maneuver the turbo around, it was easier to put it on this end before we attach it here. And we're just not gonna couple it or tighten everything down until we get all the hoses tightened. To get the V-band aligned, how do we get this in here? Okay, anyways, you'll have to maneuver this in there. And what I've done is, if you know V-bands, you know how finicky they are, but once you get them close together, you can use the band to kind of like finish the gap. So obviously the flanges are not anywhere near one another right now. So what I've noticed is if I use one hand here, the other hand pulling this up, and I use this side of my arm, let's say you're doing this one person, use this side of my arm to push the flange against the header against the block, it kind of makes a perfect seal. Obviously I can't show this because we can't do all that and get a camera in there at once. And you basically need a second person to thread a nut on the V-band all at once.
A lot going on.
Yeah, a lot going on, type shit. But that's that. It looks to be our biggest issue so far is that we have aftermarket motor mounts. What brand are these? I'll put it on screen. But we have aftermarket motor mounts, and the oil fitting here rubs on that, and the motor mount stud rubs on the hex nut there. And so we dropped the engine back down, and we're gonna lift the turbo up and then have one of us thread the 19 mil for the motor mount down, but there's just no space, so I'll let you know what we do. All right, guys, so we left off last night at about 3 in the morning, and I got my car towed. I was pissed. We were not having a good time, so I didn't film a lot, but we ended up getting the turbo in. As you guys saw, we have the V-bands tightened right now, as well as the feed lines for the oil and coolant good to go.
but we do still have a sort of lengthy checklist to get done. Also, we do have less than 24 hours to finish the entire car, so I'm not going to film the reinstallation as much as I'd like, but we have to install the last 2 charge pipes, so the one going to the turbo and the engine air box, as well as the one going for the battery, since we don't have the correct battery box, since Fab 9 messed that up. We will have to put the vacuum line from here to the new charge pipe right there. We have to get the MAP sensor bolts. We got to do oil and coolant. We tune it. Before we thread the O2 sensor into the downpipe, what I'm going to apply is a bit of high temp anti-seize. This obviously is just to make it easier on yourself in the future in case you do need to remove the O2 sensor. You don't want to go crazy on this because too much can mess up the sensor, but just enough to coat the threads lightly. And it is very messy. So that's why I'm wearing this glove. We're going to go ahead and insert the sensor first before plugging things in, obviously, because if you insert it or if you plug it in, then you'd have to twist the wire along with that when this screws in, and that's just going to be a headache. So up next is the charge pipe install. We're going to get the couplers attached here before we put the battery box in, because there's just not enough space to do all that at once. The battery box mounting holes are going to be a little tight, but what I think I can do is get my hand through here to get down to this hole, but these two will be accessible from above.
Since our last clip, we put in this charge pipe as well as this charge pipe. To get this one in, you do have to remove the top part of the intake box to be able to slide it in with both the couplers attached. And then you'll be able to just slide the intake box directly into this coupler and then tighten it back down.
As y'all are finishing up your car, don't make the same mistake we did. As you can see on screen, the MAP sensor is plugged in and it's pointed to the left. That needs to be flipped. It needs to be pointing to the right. We didn't realize this and we were chasing issue after issue, and all we had to do was flip it around and then we were good to go.
This charge pipe's pretty simple. Didn't take very long. Make sure you get your MAP sensor plugged in, and then JDL was kind enough to overnight us a battery box because ours was left out of the order. It's just 2 hex nuts here, and then there's one more, I don't know how to see it, but that little bolt down there on the bottom right. And then we're just gonna put the battery in, tie downs go here, and then we're gonna fill her up with coolant and oil. Once you've got your lower air box in, you can go ahead and drop in the supplied air filter. And we're gonna go ahead and move on to the upper air box, and we're gonna put that on with the supplied hardware. Just a heads up, before you start your car, after you fill it with oil and coolant, you have to then prime the turbo lines with oil so you don't starve the oil for like the couple seconds or maybe even split second that it doesn't have oil. To do that, I opened the fuse box. Right here is the fuel pump fuse. If you pull this and then get in the car and start to turn it on or try to turn it on, it'll crank and it'll move the oil pump and pump oil. Only do it for 10 to 15 seconds because you don't want to do it too much and burn anything out. Moment of truth.
I'm not seeing any smoke.
Go higher.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope y'all did enjoy today's video. Additionally, this is the longest video I've ever made, so I would appreciate it if y'all comment below, like the video, anything like that. It helps the algorithm. If you did watch it this far, comment a banana emoji. I'm really curious to see who actually makes it this far. Once more, I want to give a big thank you to JDL for helping us out with this. Great customer service. I'd highly recommend you guys order from them, and I couldn't be happier with it. Once more, this is the longest video I've ever made. I've been editing for the past 5.5 hours, so if I did miss anything in this tutorial or step-by-step, and you're doing this install yourself, comment that down below, because I'm not perfect. I probably did miss one or two tiny little things, but I tried my best to double check, and yeah, that's that. Appreciate all the support lately, and look forward to seeing y'all in the next video where I tell y'all what went wrong with how we ordered this kit. So, see you guys. Blooper reel starts now.
So once you've popped that off, oh. What was that doing? Well, boom! Come read this. Like stat. Jaden,
Do you have a little bag?
what is going on here?
You know,
Where is the kitty litter? You want me to pour it?
I'm busy. What it's from. Alright, so
Oh wait. Damn. Dude, this is actually gonna be so
be
bad.
ready to adjust your jug. Like if I gotta move to like reduce the splash, just be ready to move over there. Are we live?
We are live. Oh,
You should just start going.
that's it. Go be gushy.
It's finger loose, right?
Yeah. You know, like when you're in the wrong spot, you don't know if you're tightening or loosening.
You're twisting towards me.
We're going. We're getting close. Oh, I think we're
I should
almost
probably
there.
stop looking at it.
What? Stop looking at what?
The plug.
Wood wop. Oh, that shit is gushing. I think it's gonna shoot out.
I think it is too.
Oh. Oh. Oh, this is heat.
This is heat. This is heat. It's dripping all down on me.
This is heat. Yo. Like,
Who would have thought?
yeah, this is what Mazda actually calls for.
Getting a little bit wet. I am just dripping a little bit.
Why is it not flowing fast? Is it ready to cap off?
No. Go pop it.
I thought you.
Oh.
Where? Oh, I'm about to.
No, this is gonna go so bad. Is it popped?
Yeah.
retarded.
It didn't change the flow very much.
It really didn't. I mean, it popped, but it didn't. Oh, God. I was just thinking like low-key gulping it. Why is it not changing the flow? Maybe I need to pop it again. Pop it a little bit more.
You didn't crack it all the way loose?
Oh, no, I didn't. I was about to go crazy. Oh, dude, this is low-key the funniest crap. This is taking years off my life.
Wait, is it all the way off up there?
No. I was about to start pushing. What?
Are you gonna pop it off or what?
It's off! Oh. I'm gonna pee.
It's all over me.
Oh my god! Oh, this is. Why did you not go more crooked on the creeper? This whole video is about to be a blooper reel, bro.
I'm not to install a JDL Turbo Kit.
Do you want to just plug it and? Oh my god.
Do it properly?
Yeah. Alright, do you want me to just do that?
Yeah.
Oh my god. There's probably a lot still in the...
Header?
Yeah. Oh. I can't. What? Oh.
Set the job down.
Yeah. I got it. Oh my god. That boy took a cool swim. Oh my god.
Now what?
We gotta dump the rest in the header still. Oh my god, we don't have to take a shower right now. There's still some. Right? Yeah. Oh my god, there's so much. Look at it.
Here, I got it.
Wait, shouldn't you pour it out the other end? Without. Oh my god. That's so funny. I thought you said it took 2 gallons. We're not even.
Well, a gallon's on the floor. I'm gonna go in the hose in the back.
Yeah, we're gonna need to take a backyard shower. Well, we got a good clip. Should I watch this or should I just go rinse off?